What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another solo leveling Arise video. Alright guys, just so you are aware, Kaizen Guild, that is the guild that my actual paid win account is on, and we have come up with some strats. So I want to first off congratulate TYPAL, Genos, and everybody else who has been leading this guild to the top. The scores have been fantastic, and we are going to share with you guys some of the things we have learned. Now, I was not part of this. Just so you guys are aware, I'm using my platform to spread the word because I think it's needed, and people should learn how to play this. It's actually the intelligence setup. Now, this right here is going to help you guys use him as the main support to help the rest of your damage dealers do a ton of damage, and for him to have this fast cooldown as possible in order to have Shadow Dagger up and Thesis up as much as you possibly can. Okay, so that's going to be important. Now, if you look over here, you guys can see as well too from a Blessing Stone perspective. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me move my screen a little bit. You've got yourself this right here to reduce damage. You've got the cooldown one, you got Bloodlust, and the new one here, All for One, or whatever the hell it's called, which gives everybody more damage if you are running the same support element, right? So very, very important to have those up and running as well. And then skill wise, we have ourselves the wind damage, we have ourselves the defense down line, I believe that's what that is, that skill, and then the ultimate, of course, is normal. Now, if you look at the rest of this, artifacts you want to go for, this is up to you, all right? One of these skills here give you a shield, I believe, so that's probably what that is. You can do the following sets, and I'll shortly explain why. Artifacts you want to go for: 4 Guardian, 4 Destroyer, 4 Holy Set with 4 Viri, and priority mana and MP reduction on both sides. So you want to do as much MP reduction here, and the reason why is you want to cast your ultimates as fast as you can. The reason why Viri is here is to give you the lower cooldown on your Moon Shadow Daggers, so you can do them as much as you possibly can, allowing the rest of your guild or the rest of your hunters to do as much possible damage out there. And then the shield, of course, to increase your damage when you have a shield, which will happen very, very often, all right? So here are the teams and how they're going to be opened up. So first off, you're going to have yourself the Wind team. So Wind team's pretty straightforward. It's Hansime, Mirai, and Wu. Okay, so you guys can pretty much tell where they're going to go. You guys can see here, Mirai here has the full curse set and the expert set, and Wu has a full AP greed set. Okay, pretty straightforward. This is how it's going to look. All right, so take this down, and you want to put as much damage through them as possible. The next team you want to use here is going to be the fire team, somewhat of a fire team. It's actually going to be Choi. You want to use him specifically for his defense down and his burns, so you can see full AP's curse. For Emma here, for any form of buffs and shielding that she provides, and also breaking. Obviously, but breaking is not really that useful, but she does a lot of damage herself, plus the burns, so full greed. And then you over here, you see Libora, full curse. Okay, so that's going to be your second team, and that's going to give you the most amount of damage from that team. Okay, so full curse there. And then lastly, you want to go with the third team, which is going to be Cha, Alicia, and Meilin. So you guys can see we got Warmonger, curse, which is going to work really well. We have toughness on Cha, we have toughness and curse, and then for Meilin you have one hit kill and Sylph. All right, so very, very important. Gameplay is easy. All you need to do, guys, is just spam skills to make sure you always use your armor break and shadow step, and when they are up, you cancel armor break if needed. For MS, make sure MS is, of course, the Moon Shadow Daggers. Keep that up at all times, okay? Make sure to Shadow Step 95% of the times. You always need to Shadow Step. Use the Mutilate at Dragon Animation to have the defense down, and MS at Break Gauge to have more time for it. So make sure to tab and see if no one else is dead by the end. Alright guys, so next up what we're going to do is we're going to actually watch the video in the full run itself. Now this is by TYPAL, just so you guys are aware, this is not my gameplay, but it is how we're going to strategize going forward and how we're going to do this. So he sent me the video. I do want to do a quick breakdown with you guys and go over everything that's going on. So let's first off take a look at the fight itself. So you guys know Fak now gets in the fight, and you guys can see here right away everyone's getting the buff. So the first thing you want to do right away is get your Shadow Moon Daggers in and get those buffs going. You guys can see at the same time everyone is already casting all of their spells, and all of the debuffs are now going into play, right? So we have ourselves the Wind team that he's using currently as the main form of support. The good thing about this, of course, is the fact that any wind skills he has is going to get buffed by Hansime, and then Mirai is going to do the most amount of damage, and then Wu is going to provide him an extra boosted dash as well too. So you guys can see here the damage here is going to be fantastic, and he's using a couple. There's the wind skill right there. That's what you want to use. There's the Moon Shadow Daggers right there, and he's got himself the Thesis Grimoire, which is going to cause erosion and give everybody that extra damage. Now, if you don't have some of these weapons, I've given you guys a plethora of information on regards to backup weapons you can use, like the Falcon Sword, or the Falcon Frostbite, I should say. You guys can use yourself A couple other options as well too that I put in for skills. So make sure you guys go and check out that video if you're looking for any backups. Now, the main thing here to note is those debuffs need to occur fairly often. You guys see Charmed, you guys see Branded, you guys see a lot of burns, a lot of defense down. And one of the main things to keep up as Jinwoo, one of your main focuses realistically at the end of the day is gonna keep shadow stepping. Okay, you have to shadow step, and you guys can see here in terms of skills, he's got Bloodlust, he's got that one for all skill, right? And he's getting the buff from Hansime to do more damage as well. You're not looking to, you'll see at the end of this fight, at the end of the day, you're not looking to do damage. I mean, you are looking to do as much chip damage as you possibly can, but your goal is simply to continuously keep up the debuffs. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but look how quickly the debuffs or the skills come back every time, because he's got himself set up with full intelligence and the reawakening blessing stone. His Moonshadow daggers come back in like 8 seconds. It's crazy fast. So this is where it's going to be a little bit costly. Be forewarned. You're going to need to switch out your artifacts. You're going to need to switch out all of your skills. You're going to need to switch out all of your stats, right? Normally we all play with strength because that's the meta, but for something like this where you're not the main DPS, you're actually the support DPS, and you want to have the most uptime for those debuffs, you're gonna have to do a lot of switching, and it's pretty costly. Like for free to play especially, this is going to be very difficult to pull off, but it is doable. And I will say this right now, every free to play can focus on this and do the same thing. Okay, so you guys can see here, he hasn't casted his ultimate at all. He's just using his shadow steps, he's using his Moonshadow daggers, he's using a thesis, right here. Now, I think what TYPAL told me was he should have casted his ultimate, because it actually does give people a chance to get more MP back and everything, but you guys can see the amount of damage being pulled off here by your team is pretty damn insane, right? Look at this, we're at 2 point something million or billion already, and the damage continues to roll in. We got 17 seconds left, so he's going to continue just pummeling him here at the end, and just making sure that Jinwoo is now considered the best debuffer in the game. Now, I know this upsets a lot of people. I've heard the community's feedback that they're not happy about, the outcome of all this and how he has now, become the ultimate debuffer. But that's just the reality of it, right? The game itself is focusing on hunters. And I did want to talk about this real quick. Something that I think needs to be noted for all of this is the fact that every gacha you play, and this is notorious for gachas, okay? And if you've never played a gacha before, this is just going to help you kind of understand this. Every gacha you play, you're going to need to understand that the main character is usually the weakest character in the game, right? And they purposely do this so you can buy into another version of the character when it comes out for summoning. In our case, we don't have that because Jinwoo's main thing is the weapons, right? That's what we're going to focus on. But usually the hunters or the special characters are usually always stronger than the main character. Now that kind of sucks in our case because the main character in this story is way stronger than everybody else, and clearly it's a hard pill to swallow when he is downgraded to being a support unit versus the main MVP star of the show. But if you really think about it, at the end of the day, he really is the MVP of the show. Either way you look at it, right? You guys can see here again, look at the intelligence build, right? Look how quickly things are coming back. And this is the beauty of this build, is you want to consistently have something on cooldown and then up from cooldown as much as possible, right? You guys can see here the erosion effect, the shadow step, the Moonshadow daggers, right? The wind skill. Everything here is constantly being used and utilized perfectly. And not to mention, like, the fact that he has a shield on him at all times, doing 10% more damage with the Guardian set. Right, look at that. Look at this. The survivability is there, and it's non-stop. So TYPAL obviously is a pro player here, so you're not going to be able to mimic this perfectly, but this should give you a general sense of what to do and how to do it. Look at this, like non-stop cooldowns. And it's just incredible because the amount of damage your hunters do due to you being able to continuously provide these Eclipse debuffs as well as these erosions is insane. is insane. So like this is why it's so important. And again, if you don't have the thesis like I don't on my free to play, I have an A0, not an A1. You want to have at least A1. You can use the Falcon sword, right? The Falcon Frostbite sword, and that should give you 2 stacks of erosions as well, giving you that 24% damage. So there are ways around this. Now the moon dagger is one that's hard to replace. If you do have the skewer will give you an extra 5% damage on the opponent. And you can see here he doesn't move around that much, so the skewer still should do quite well. Plus your fire units will do an additional 5% as well. Now, if you get it to A5, you're going to do 10% more damage, and then your fire units will do an additional 10 on top of that, so 20% overall. So it's actually a pretty damn cool thing to have. And I love this, that Falk never rages and refuses to die. Just never dying dragon here, right? So keep in mind, the grill is built for this. You're actually meant to use it to do as much damage as possible. But again, the main thing you're going to have to get in your head is that Jinwoo now is in fact going to be your main support system, and your hunters are going to be your proper DPS and debuffers and buffers. So you're going to have to add them to that. So there you guys have it. I hope that kind of helped you guys out. The setup is already there for you. You understand how to use it now. The overall gameplay is available to you. You guys can see here. Look at the damage difference, right? If we pause this for a sec, the 31 million versus 778 versus 439 versus 323. With Mirai, the reason why she's doing so much insane damage is her ultimate is constantly going off. She's getting MP back nonstop from Hansime, and she's also getting her immortality in case she dies. That team is perfect for her, right? Now, Wu can be replaced if you want to replace him with somebody else, but at the end of the day, Wu's there to boost wind damage whenever that break happens, right? So he's there to provide you guys a lot of skill damage and give you guys some more utility. So this team here, I think, is the perfect team setup right now. You can use Ana Ruiz instead of Wu, for example, if you want that poison and that defense down, but everything else here looks pretty damn good. So there you go, 2.3 million, remember, or 2.3 billion. Remember, free-to-play players, this is hard to mimic, but you can take the concepts and the theories and apply it, and you should still up your score fairly easy. So again, thank you for TYPAL, for Kaizen the Guild, of course, that I'm part of, and everybody in it who put this together. This is amazing, so I'm glad we're able to share this with the community. Thank you again for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.